The NBA is a star-driven league. Occasionally, a really good team with one star or a few really good players shocks the world. See the Detroit 03-04 team. But for the most part, big names bring championship seasons. It's no surprise then that the NBA world watches the approach of the trade deadline with such eagerness. Almost every year, a big name on a team underperforming becomes available. This year, we've already had a few big names move teams before the season began, Westbrook and Hayward being prime examples. We've also had a huge name traded after the season began, with James Harden forcing his way out of Houston to form a super team with KD and Kyrie in Brooklyn. We're pretty sure the drama isn't over though, and we've picked out a few big names that could easily swap jerseys before the trade deadline. The first of those names will be a bit of a surprise. It's Kemba Walker. Hear us out, okay? Boston has already shown us they're more than happy to let an injury-plagued guard go after it became clear they could manage without him. In 2016, they made a deep playoff run without Isaiah Thomas. The next season, they let him go. The only difference here is that Kemba already has his big money deal, so he'll be a lot harder to shift. However, the Celtics are 8-3 at the time of writing. They look like one of the top teams in the East, and they've done it all without Kemba Walker playing a game. This is on the back of a decent playoff run last year without their star guard. The league is oversaturated with top-level point guards at the moment, another factor stopping any potential trade. But a team on the cusp of becoming a contender with pieces to offer, such as the Dallas Mavericks, a team who've been vocal about their desire to add a third big piece to the Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis duo, could easily become a landing spot for Walker if the Celtics decide they don't need him and don't want to pay him all that money. The Mavs have decent squad depth and several draft picks available to offer the Celtics. And we all know how much Danny Ainge loves a draft pick or two. The Mavs already have Luka as their ball handler, but Kemba is unselfish and a good enough spot-up shooter to be able to play effectively alongside the European wonder kid without too many teething problems. Adding Kemba to their squad, if he's healthy and playing at his best, pushes the Mavs firmly into the championship contenders conversation, something Mark Cuban has been desperate to see happen since he blew up the 2011 squad the year after they won it. Another possible option is Indiana, who have a player the Celtics have made no secret of their wish to acquire in recent years. Miles Turner, a stretch center with serious defensive chops, is what many feel to be the missing piece in a championship run by the Celtics. Having just dealt Oladipo as part of the Harden trade, Indiana are clearly not shy of moving pieces if they feel it could help the team. While Indiana may not be keen to let Turner go, his chemistry with Sabonis is questionable at best. Sabonis showed better development and carried an injury-riddled Pacers squad last season. Indiana may be more open to the idea of moving on from Turner, particularly if doing so means an opportunity to pair Walker with Malcolm Brogdon in what would instantly become one of the top backcourts in the league. A trio of Sabonis, Walker, and Brogdon would make the Pacers a top team in the East almost instantly. The three are all unselfish, great passers and don't need the ball to be effective, so chemistry issues would likely be minimal. We think the Indiana move makes the most sense and could easily see Kemba being shipped out of Boston if the Celtics carry on winning at this rate without him. Walker isn't the only star guard who might be moving teams before the deadline though. Bradley Beal, a name at the center of trade speculation for most of last season and this offseason. Beal has been vocal about his desire to stay in Washington and make it work, but every player has a breaking point. Just look at Davis's move to the Lakers. Winning matters, and Washington hasn't done much of it to start the season despite bringing in Russell Westbrook as part of the John Wall to Houston trade. If the Wizards keep on losing, Beal could well be moved out, whether he asked to be or not. And there are a few teams in the league who would be more than happy to acquire his services. The Lakers have made it known that they're big fans of Beal. They also have a ton of veterans on friendly contracts, something teams looking to blow up and rebuild their rosters always like to see. They're also in the West, so they wouldn't be strengthening any rivals in the conference ahead of a return to competitiveness in the future. Between Beal and Westbrook, the Wizards are paying an awful lot of money to lose an awful lot of games. If the losing continues, we can see them cutting their losses and shipping one of the guards out. Beal is undoubtedly the easier sell of the two, being younger, a better shooter, and less ball dominant than Westbrook. We're fairly certain the Wizards are going to have to blow things up entirely and rebuild at some point, and we think this season with a Beal to Lakers trade is the season to do it. There is another destination Beal could end up in out west, and a player on that team is the next superstar we think will get traded. The Portland Trail Blazers have stuck with the McCollum-Lillard backcourt through thick and thin over the past few years. Recently though, questions have been asked about their ability to take the Blazers all the way. After a conference final appearance in 2018-2019, they fell well short of building on that success last season when they were blown out of the water by the Lakers and Clippers. Injuries certainly played their part in the Blazers' low seed, but in truth they didn't look like they could hang with the big boys out west. It may be time then to finally blow up their backcourt and try something new. On paper, there didn't appear to be much to separate Beal and McCollum last season, but true fans of the game know Beal has a level McCollum can't match as a scorer on the ball. Beal lags behind defensively, but at least some of that can be attributed to the fact that he has to carry the team offensively night in and night out. Beal to Portland in a straight swap for McCollum would give the Blazers 2 backcourt players capable of going nuclear on any given night. Beal is a legit shooting guard and a great spot-up shooter that would fit right in alongside Lillard, and McCollum is owed a great deal less money over the next few years than Beal is, another plus for a Wizards team likely looking to rebuild. We think a CJ Beal swap is a very real possibility if things continue going south for both teams. The last of the superstars we think may be traded play for the same team and are also in the Eastern Conference. The process hasn't worked in Philadelphia. What looked like a gradual build to a championship in Philly was stopped by Kawhi Leonard's buzzer beater in Game 7, and it seems like the franchise has been slowly regressing ever since. Chemistry concerns over Embiid and Simmons persist, and their slow start to the season lends strength to the argument that those concerns are valid. We think it might well be time to blow it up in Philly. The question is, who goes? While Embiid is undoubtedly the easier sell, we're pretty confident Philly aren't going to move one of the top 10 players in the league unless he flat out demands a trade. So that leaves Simmons, a point forward with a combination of size and speed that makes him almost unguardable. The only chink in his armor is the lack of anything resembling a jump shot, although supposedly that's something he's working on. The lack of a reliable jump shot is a serious problem in today's space and shoot NBA and will no doubt make moving Simmons difficult. However, a team of shooters surrounding Simmons could work, as the Bucks have proven with Antetokounmpo over the last couple of years. A team like the Mavs with stretch bigs who can space the floor could be a possible landing space for the Aussie. Cuban and the Mavs have enjoyed great success with foreign players, and Simmons could add to that if surrounded by the right roster. Another possible option is the Denver Nuggets. They have too many rotation players in need of minutes, and Jamal Murray, while exceptional, is more of a shooting guard than a point guard. Djokovic is less reliant on the block for points than Embiid is, so there would likely be more space for Simmons to drive to the basket and pass or score as he does so effectively at present. The Nuggets also have a bunch of great shooters and perimeter players which should complement Simmons' game nicely while he works on that jump shot he desperately needs if he is to become truly elite. In truth, there are a few teams that could easily accommodate Simmons. Players of his size with a solid handle, great vision, and all NBA level defense are rarely available. Whether Philadelphia pulled the trigger is another story, but we certainly think Ben Simmons is in the more likely than not category given how high the expectations were for the team when he paired up with Embiid. They're also above .500 at the time of writing, and given the lower standard of the competition, should be a lock for a playoff spot in the East. That gives them a whole season to tinker and try and make things work, something Brett Brown couldn't do quickly enough to keep his job as coach. So there we are. This season seems more so than any other to be the one in which we could see multiple big names move teams. Whether any actually will is anyone's guess, but we think the guys we've named here are pretty likely to. It is entirely possible someone gets disgruntled with their team in the coming weeks and demands a move that shocks us all. For example, no one saw the Harden trade coming. It's also possible that nobody moves at all. But this is the NBA, and if it's shown us anything over the past couple of years, this league doesn't do boring. For now, sit back and watch the madness unfold. There's sure to be another bombshell soon enough, and if it's one of the players we've mentioned here, then be prepared for an I told you so video the day after it happens, along with some in-depth analysis of what that means for the league, of course. Like this video if you enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.